Hi everyone, it's JL Rothstein here, author of the Heaven Sent series. My book Atonement is out now. You can get it on Amazon or you can go to my website at jlrothstein.com. Today I have a very special guest, a fellow author, AC Merkel. Welcome to the show, AC.
Hi.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm so glad you're here. You have both books in your hands. So we have book candy. We have book eye candy.
This one's a proof though. So.
Well, you hold it back far enough, you can almost not tell.
Yeah, so no, it kind of looks like part of the design, right?
It fits right into the whole wall decor you have going on in the show. So tell everybody, Her Name is Murder is book one.
It's book one.
And London Calling is coming out at the end of the month. So tell everyone about both books.
Okay, so Her Name is Murder features an immortal woman who is going by the name Murder. And that's a long, complicated story and part of the mystery in a way. So we won't get too into that, but she's come back to New York for the first time after 40 years. And she's determined to stay this time. She's tired of running. She's looking to put down some roots. And she kind of succeeds of that here. Kind of. We got a nice happy for now with this book. And then 2 years after Her Name is Murder, London Calling happens. And this is a bit different from that. It's a continuation, but this is a bit more science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
The alternate history, that has a nice, strong alternate history vibe, but this has maybe even more of it.
Okay. So if you like that.
If you like that, it's this
second one better.
And this is more. This one's very romancy.
Mm-hmm.
This one's a little bit less romancy because all the romances are kind of settled into place.
Yep.
So we have romance, we have couples continuing adventures, and
just like real life, the romance
strengthening their bonds, and
we have romance dying. We have. What are you saying, AC? Come on.
That is not what I'm saying at all. But we have the strengthening of bonds. We have
Yes.
We have perilous. We have a perilous situation going on in this book, and this book does leave some things open for a third.
Oh, nice.
At least.
Well, why stop at 3?
It's kind of a complete story. I mean, I want to.
Yep.
I very much want to keep it going, but there's also the fact of, I may want to wrap up everything that is in this 3, and maybe start something new with the characters again, but maybe have it be a different series, or maybe focus on a different character, or. And I also want to do novellas because we got 500 years of history before this happens.
Oh, nice. So
lots of room
there.
I would like to see World War I, World War II, the Wild West, maybe some, I don't know, Underground Railroad. There's all kinds of places that Murder Levi could have been throughout 500.
Now, are you a fan of history? Is that why? Okay, so you have a love of history, which is part of, and classical music, because I picked up Her Name is Murder. I'm not very far along because my reading list is ridiculous. But lots of classical music references throughout the book. So obviously you have a love of music and a love of history, and it's sort of coming out in the stories. And I love the fact that your first question revolves around music, because I wanted to ask you that question.
And I love to talk about that question, which is why I was like, okay, give me this one. Give me this one.
So talk a little bit about music, its influence on you, its influence on the story, and what made you want to put so many references in Her Name is Murder?
The first artistic thing I was doing in my adult life was that I was a singer in a band. And that was my writing outlet back then. I wrote songs. I created like in Her Name is Murder, she's got a website that's got background for the songs that she's putting out, and I did some of that with my bands too. I'd write the song and I would tell what the story was, and even if the story was just in my head about what that was, there was still always more to it than just that. So fast forward a few years and the band thing just didn't work. I guess I'm more of a work alone kind of personality. That says
could have been
a lot.
A solo singer.
And I've done a few things like that.
Yeah.
But nothing that I want to like cross over to my book.
Yep.
To the book audience. But music's just very important to me. And like you said, when I was thinking about this character, I mean, this her name is Murder came from an idea of, if I was immortal and had all the time in the world, I would learn to play every instrument.
Oh, it's interesting. That would make for a good question. I'm stealing that for my author series question. If you were immortal, what would you do? That's a great answer.
But she's had so much time that she's mastered violin. So what's next? Yeah. So she's mastered violin. She's mastered finance. She's mastered. But it started with, hey, I want to, and her mother, who I'm not going to say her name on here, which you can find out if you read all the blurbs. You'd find out who her mother is. But was also a very accomplished and educated musician. Mm-hmm. So that's, Murder's essentially me. But, gender flipped and some other differences, but there's a lot of me in that character.
That is
so. There's another part to that question, right?
Yeah. So it's talking a little bit about, does it change depending on the scene that you're writing? Like how much of an influence is it having on what you're writing at that time?
And absolutely. I was sitting in I don't know if you guys have Milo's Hamburgers.
Not where I am.
Milo's Hamburgers started in Birmingham, Alabama. So it's kind of an up or down whether or not people have heard of it. Just before Christmas. So it would have been in October, I guess, because it was before NaNoWriMo too. And 1,000 Years came on the speakers and that's that Twilight song, right?
But the instrumental version that the piano guys did, I walked down the aisle to.
Oh, okay, good.
That I thought I thought it was so beautiful, just the musical piece of it.
The song's beautiful.
Yeah.
But that song very heavily influenced Her Name is Murder.
Oh.
If you read Her Name is Murder and then go through the lyrics of 1,000 Years, you're going to see a lot of where that song influenced that book. And now in London Calling, I had a scene that I was a little bit stuck on, and I went looking through my stuff, and I found well, I already had the song, but I stumbled into Feels Like Forever by former Flyleaf singer Lacey Sturm. And that book, that song could be a theme for both books. It's got lines in it that kind of reference things I wrote in Her Name is Murder, and it carries across. And after finding that song and using it to listen to before I wrote, this book kind of happened quicker.
Do you listen to the music while you're actually writing? Like, is there music on in the background or in your headphones as you're typing?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But not as often as I'd like, because most of the time I'm in a room where there's a TV going in the background, or, I don't always get to be alone when I'm writing.
Right.
And I write on lunch breaks. I write on.
Yeah, not everybody has a great space to go and be alone and have music on, right?
But there's also the idea of putting my playlist on as I do that 40-minute commute home from work and to work, and those scenes can shape up pretty well while I'm driving and thinking about them.
Yeah, 40 minutes is a good chunk of time to have something marinating
just quiet, Yeah. I got my chamber music playing and my going down the road, and the cars become horses, whatever.
So I guess where there were so many musical references in the first book, are you more heavily leaning towards classical music or just all music?
I'm a 90s kid.
Mm-hmm.
The 90s alternative and early 2000s stuff, there's a lot of references to that stuff in it.
Yep.
Because to me, that's where and it's for different people, but that's where my music kind of,
Yep.
when I was picking my own music, it was, um, Bush and Veruca Salt, which is Murder's favorite band, apparently,
Yeah.
because it keeps coming up. So, but yes, I always liked the classical music, but the classical music largely comes into play because I like violin,
Hmm.
and she was an older character.
Right.
So it kind of, I've learned a lot more about classical music because of the character.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well,
that's,
and anybody reading it will as well. It's kind of a fun part throughout the book, for people to hold on to. So your next piece of advice kind of ties in a little bit, because we were just talking about, if you were immortal, what would you do? And this is sort of reverse. If you got a chance to talk to your younger self, what would your advice be to your younger self?
I have questions for you about this question. How much info can I give my younger self? Is there a way to pass a manuscript backwards? Is there a way to
Yes.
hand off a lottery number? I'm a time travel author, so I'm thinking of all the ways that I could better myself. I'm sitting over here going,
It's funny, the reactions people have to this question. Some people embrace it, and it sort of becomes, a moment of wisdom that they're trying to share and pass along. And then other people sort of feel like, it's almost like their moment to list out all their regrets. But I guess I come at it from a more of a positive space, like, because when you ask that question, it really forces the person to think back and think, well, if I had this information, what would I have done with it? Yeah, what would I have done with it? And could you give that? Would you, in most cases, the answer is yes. Would you give that sort of same advice to an up and coming author, or somebody who is aspiring to be an author?
I would kill to have my almost 42-year-old brain in my 25, 26-year-old body. Please. I mean, understand that that's the basis of this book, though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
She's got her 25-year-old body, and she's got all the experience in the world.
Yeah.
And so that question was almost written for me. There was something else, but my brain's flopping. Oh yeah, that's the other thing, is this scenario happens in here.
Really?
So just a character does actually go back to their younger self.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard to just give one piece of advice, right? It's really hard to just say one thing you would tell yourself. But I guess it's the biggest thing you could pass along, right? As opposed to all the funny stuff about the lottery and stuff, which we all wish we could do, buy
Younger
Google
me would
stock.
not listen to me.
I think that's the whole point, right? That's
you get
why
that though? Young me would not listen to me, because young me didn't listen to all the other people that tried to tell young me.
Yeah.
What I
and
would tell young me.
there were plenty of, same for me. I have a big family, so there were, and older siblings.
I got that from the first few pages of your book that I read. I haven't read much, but I flipped through it at lunch one day, kind of getting an idea of what we were. And that your character has your name and has a large family, so I was like, she must have a big family.
Yeah, so there are 9 siblings in my book, and they are named after the 9 nieces and nephews, real life nieces and nephews that I have. So Genevieve's, now she's an adult and has a baby of her own. But Genevieve is not only my niece, but my goddaughter. And I thought it would just be a fun thing to do when I first came up with the story, is to name them after them. And then I had to put them in this precarious situations of fighting bad guys and getting into romantic moments. And I thought, this is the worst idea I've ever had. What was I thinking? I'm never doing this again. And of course,
apparently it's not a bad idea, because people are raving about your book, and I can't wait to actually get to it.
Yeah, it's a fantasy. I mean, I've been calling it a supernatural thriller, but it's just good fun, and that's the whole point of why we write, and is to dump out all these weird, crazy thoughts we have in our head.
So these again, these are just fun. These are good fun. There was a lot of research that went into these for like the historical elements, because I wanted to be like factual, and my turns to be believable, because things in here don't have happen exactly like they did, but a lot of research, but the point was to be fun, just like
Yeah.
you were saying.
Yeah, exactly. So your last question, before I get to your last question, you talked about the research. Can we just, I know it's not on the list of questions, so hopefully you'll roll with me.
No, that's okay.
But
I'll roll.
Obviously when you're writing something and it's based on history, there would be a lot more research involved in that, not, wanting it to be historically accurate. So how did you go about researching, and how long did that take you to do that?
Okay, so with Her Name is Murder, I'm mostly stuck with things I already kind of had an idea about.
Yep.
There's a historian in the other room who has a degree for starters. But
so that's the first pass. That's the first pass reader, right? It's not the only reader, but that's the first pass reader.
Yeah. Oh yeah, every time, no doubt. But I wrote the 50,000 words for NaNoWriMo, and then I went back and added a few scenes of some other things that needed research, like the Orient Express stuff. I didn't know anything about that going in, so I had to research that, like what years it ran, where it ran between and from. And I know more about trains in Middle Europe now than I ever thought I would ever want to need to know. But and there was even more research for the second book, but I'm not going to get too into that because I don't want to tell what's in there.
Right. You don't want to give anything away, but obviously that adds another layer. I think we all research a little bit, even if we're writing fiction, but when you're writing something that has the basis in history, I would imagine that added a lot more time to preparing and to writing the book. Yeah.
Right.
Excellent. Well, your last question is, what's next for you? So what is next for you?
Okay, so I am doing the NaNoWriMo again this year, and I'm not going to be in this universe. So I am taking a step off of that. I'm still doing witches, but they're actually local witches. I'm writing this story based on it's going to split time between Birmingham, Alabama, and Childersburg, Alabama, here where I live. So I've got two characters. One's kind of to use a phrase, I kind of have a country mouse and a city mouse.
Yeah.
And but they're country witch and a city witch, and they're gonna meet up, and they're fighting over a boy, but it's not for the reasons you think they'd be fighting over a boy.
Sounds like another one that's a lot of fun. Yeah, sounds like another fun.
Yeah, it's another one that's a lot of fun. I'm hoping to have it be a little more actiony.
Yep.
Than this series, and it's going to be. I want it to be a standalone. I want it to be a little more actiony and maybe 3 or 4 shades darker.
Yeah. Do you want to tell the audience about your experience of NaNoWriMo? Because I didn't know much about it, and just actually signed up with actually Lara and Dominic kind of beat me up a little bit and said, we have to get in on this and get here and get going on this. And so I just went in, and I don't know very much about it. So for anyone who might be watching who's never done it.
You and Laura can both add me to your buddy list to start with. And the other thing of it is basically you just tabulate what you write every day. And to get to the 50,000 words they're talking about, it takes about 1,667 words a day.
That's a lot.
Which it's a lot. At the same time, it's during November, and we had Thanksgiving plans, so I wrote this in 21 days.
Wow.
But I had a lot of fleshing out to do after that. There was scenes added. Things where I, made notes as I wrote this first draft of this, of where, okay, this happened. I need to go back and put the foreshadowing for that in, and then sometimes things happened, and then I was like, oh shit, sorry. Oh crap. I foreshadowed that already and didn't realize it was even going to happen. So, but it's just basically like pushing yourself a little bit harder to write those words and to start on a day and have a whole bunch of people doing something together to kind of drive everyone forward.
Yeah.
But I had such a success with it that I'm definitely doing it again.
Oh, that's
So
great. That's great. That's exciting. That's exciting to hear. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm new to that, so I don't know how well I'm going to do, but we'll see. A lot of times for a lot of people, accountability can kind of help them move
sure.
forward. Like I have to be accountable. Like creating a self-imposed deadline with just between you and yourself is not always going to move the needle, but if you're out there with a whole community of people, hopefully that helps move things forward. So that is super excited. I hope everybody goes out, checks out your books on Amazon, and your Twitter handle. Oh, tell me about your Twitter handle. I should have asked you about this. Like, tell everyone about this crazy Blink Drive Twitter handle that you have.
Okay, so that is actually kind of in a roundabout way. That's a writing thing, sort of.
It's a great answer.
Baron Destructo on Twitter is Joe. My head's hurting. Joseph Malozzi, who was the showrunner for Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis and Dark Matter on the Sci-Fi Channel. And Dark Matter has a device in it called the Blink Drive.
Okay.
So, and he's like one of my heroes, and I hope he watches this. We should tag him. We should tag him.
Yes.
I mean, he and I have spoken on Twitter, and he does follow me, and we've had small correspondences. Not like anything big or anything, but it is cool. If I mention him, he will like the tweet. So maybe he'll make a TV show of murder one day. Push, 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 hint, hint. But that was going to be a music project name, Blink Drive.
Okay.
And it was for about 6 months, and then I kind of abandoned it.
Well, it doesn't matter because now you're a successful author and you're publishing books, and that's more important. You're getting your stories out there and in this author community on Twitter, which is how the two of us met. So this has been great fun. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. I've had a lot of laughs. I hope everybody watching has enjoyed it, had a lot of laughs, and I hope they all go out and check out your books on Amazon or go connect with you on Twitter.
Thank you very much. I've had fun too.
Yes. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone, for watching. Thank you.